everyone, welcome to my art class. In this class, we are going to learn how to paint a watermelon using watercolors and also some basic techniques for beginners. I'm going to tell you all the art supplies we need for this class. First and foremost, we will need a watercolor paper. You can use any size watercolor paper. You will need watercolor paints. You will need a watercolor round brush, some clean water in a jar, a mixing palette, a paper towel, and a Sharpie. You can also use a black marker if you don't have a Sharpie. Let's make a swatch of colors we need to paint this watermelon. We will need red, pink, light green, dark green, and we will use a Sharpie to draw the seeds on the watermelon. Since we are ready with all the art supplies we need, I'm going to teach you two basic watercolor techniques, which are wet and wet and splatter. The first technique I'm going to teach you is wet and wet. For wet and wet, you have to wet the paper with some clean water first. So I'm going to wet my paper with some clean water. See that there are no puddles forming. Now take some wet paint and just drop onto the paper. Can you see the color bleeding? Wow! I'm going to take a different color now, maybe yellow, and drop in some parts. And the other technique I want to teach you is splatter. In this technique, you just need to mix some color. You can mix it into your palette. Mix it in your palette. Take some pink. Take some blue. some yellow. Oh, this became green. So when you're ready with your colors, take some paint with your brush. You can use one more brush and tap the brush onto the paper. So you can see I have used this technique here on the watermelon. Now that we have learned the two basic techniques of watercolors, let's start painting the watermelon. The first thing we have to do is draw the shape of the watermelon onto the paper, very lightly. It's a simple triangle with a rounded bottom. So start drawing the triangle very lightly with a rounded bottom. Extend the lines a little and then connect these lines with a rounded bottom. Let's start painting this watermelon. The first thing to do is wet. Since we are using wet on wet technique, we have to first wet the triangle with some clean water. Now I'm going to add some red paint and start dropping it onto the wet area. Since the paper is wet, the color is bleeding down. I'll try to spread the color a little bit. I'm going to take some pink paint and start dropping onto the red paint, and I want the colors to blend here. I add some dark paint on the top and I try to spread the color slowly. Add some more pink in the wet areas. So I want the bottom part to be lighter, so I just take some clean water and try to spread the color. You can add some more pink. Now let's paint the bottom part of the watermelon. For that, clean your brush and I would pick up some light green and paint it in the bottom. Make sure that you leave some space between the top colors and the green. Now clean your brush and with some clean water, spread the color, the light green. And add some dark green in the bottom. So if some colors bleed into the green, just take a dry brush and lift up the color from the paper. You can take some more dark green and just drop it onto the light green. Now we are done with the bottom part also. So when you're happy with how it looks, just leave it for drying, or you can also use your hair dryer to speed up the drying process. Now that my paper is completely dry, let's add some black seeds using a black Sharpie. You can also use a black marker. Now let's have some fun splattering some paint onto the watermelon. So for this technique, mix some paints into your palette, add more water and you can just take any colors you want. Make the colors dilute. Take some yellow, some red, some pinks. Now go ahead and splatter some paint onto the watermelon. Look at the end result. This looks gorgeous and was made easily using some simple shapes and techniques. Thank you for watching my class, and please don't forget to have fun while painting.